So today I'm just doing a very simple video just about lion's mane, because I'm conscious that the people that are having cognitive impairment at the moment, they wouldn't be able for the longer video, the 36-minute one. And I certainly wouldn't have been able to do that whole video when I was at my lowest cognitively. So I have a report here that I'll go through very simply in a few minutes, but I just wanted to explain a little bit about the brain fog thing that gets thrown about. It's so simple compared to what we have or I had going on. Brain fog does not describe where I was at. Going back a few months ago, I had daily brain crashes. Now, I did have a neurologist complain to me about using that term, but my brain was so I wasn't able to have this conversation with her. At the time, she was saying, "Don't say those words." What do you mean? I didn't understand what she was trying to say to me. Don't use those words. Don't use that language. I didn't understand what she was trying to say to me. I couldn't use my own email system. I was having to get everything directed to my husband. I couldn't open my own emails. I couldn't understand the emails. I was missing emails. I didn't understand them. I couldn't understand anything. And I was having these crashes every day where if somebody asked me questions, I couldn't understand what they were saying to me. And if they kept at me, my brain ceased to function completely and I couldn't speak. Not like the big impact, high impact thing I had happen in July 2021 where I was dying, and I know I was dying. I won't go into that now, but these brain crash things, and I'll still call them that because I don't have another name for it. I looked like I was having a stroke. I couldn't speak. I was like gobbledygook, or somebody'd say something to me and I would start to talk like this. People were getting awful frightened. They'd go, "I'll call an ambulance." I'd go, "No." Couldn't even say no. I'd be trying to say to them, 10 minutes. In other words, leave me alone. Let me rest. I need to recover for about 10 minutes. If I completely rest and you leave me alone, my speech will come back. Just stop everything. Don't speak to me. Just leave me alone for 10 minutes. Let me rest. That was a brain crash for me. And I was getting them every single day. That's not brain fog. No. I was terrified to go anywhere. Couldn't go anywhere without Stuart. It happened to me on my last holiday. It was so frightening, And if people didn't understand that was happening to you, they were going, "Tell me what's wrong," and you can't speak. It happened to me in a shop when I was away with my family and I was on my own. Poor woman in the shop, she's going, "I'll ring an ambulance." Oh no. Terrified of ending up in the hospital. Not being able to get back home then. I was so sick when I was away. Disaster to go away. Disaster. Certainly not without Stuart, because he knew these things were happening to me. So anyway, this brain fog, I don't know if other people are getting it as bad as that, but I was certainly really, really bad, and it was getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. But leading up to that, cognitive decline, getting worse and worse, not being able to understand what was happening around you. People talking to you and you're just vacant. Don't understand. Forgetting everything. not being able to understand what you're doing. And they call it brain fog. It sounds so just derogatory, and the lack of validation with it is horrendous. It sounds like, oh, I just forgot something. Oh, silly me. You know, and when you're experiencing it, you're going, have I dementia? Is this the end of me? You know, is my life coming to an end? Am I going to end up in a nursing home with something similar to Alzheimer's? Like, it's so frightening. And you have to withdraw from everybody, and you're afraid to meet people because you can't speak to them. It's dreadful. So anyway, this is a very recent report, published 2nd of August 2024. So what they're saying in it is, and I have referred to this before and I've, shared it around, but for people who haven't seen it, and for vaccine injured people who have this brain fog, there's a high prevalence of, let me read this properly. So, antibodies against gangliosides were absent. This is in the brain. Antibodies against gangliosides were absent in vaccine injured people's brains. So these gangliosides, don't ask me what these gangliosides are. They're not ganglions, they're not little hard pieces of something. But these gangliosides were overrunning the brain. So the antibodies that break these things down weren't in vaccine injured people's brains. So gangliosides were running rampant around the brains. And a different type of antibodies against peripheral nervous system structures, a different type of antibody. Vaccine injured people had too many of those. So one type of antibody was missing, and a different type of antibody, we had too much of them. So, which was damaging the peripheral nervous system in the brain. So one side was attacking the brain, one type of antibody was attacking the brain, and a different antibody, which was needed to take out these gangliosides, was missing. So one type of thing was building up, and another type of thing in the brain, the structure of the brain, had too many antibodies which were attacking it. So it's nice to see it in black and white, because my last neurologist was trying to make out that I had this thing called FND, which meant that it was not just all in my head like this, but that it was all in my head, as in that I was in control of this. There was nothing actually wrong with me. So anyway, here we go. I am still in the process of putting an email together to make a complaint about all that, but it's happening. So anyway, since I had that awful time with her where my brain was still so massively damaged, and I had that dreadful meeting with her, which I won't go into now, I got to work myself, because I was obviously not getting any help from her, and I still have no neurologist because she was my third. So I've been doing all this stuff by myself. Thankfully, being in the Global Coalition of Vaccine Injured, these kind of studies come up. That's how I got my hands on this. So what appears to be happening, now this is all hypothesis, because I can't see inside my brain to see what's going on. Since doing this, I have not just a supplement off the shelves in a health food shop. I've gone to a very good source, which is Gaelic Fungi Farms. They're in Carlow in Ireland, so quite local to me. A girl called Eilish and her husband run this company, and I'm putting links in the comments and attaching it to these. When I share this video and when I put the posts up, I'm putting their link in because they've been really good, and we've built up a nice little friendship out of it because they're really on the ball. So I've been using their powder and the liquid from their really fresh mushrooms. That makes all the difference. The expense and the health food shop mushrooms, they're very expensive to buy them off the shelf, and they're not fresh, you know. I've tried it, you know, and the amount of money I was spending, and you could tell they're old, you know. I don't know how old they are by the time they got to me, but they were old, and the amount I was taking before I could notice any kind of a little, I did notice a difference, but I was taking about 50 or 60 euros worth a week for me to notice a tiny little bit of a difference, and it was minuscule when I started on these. That's when I noticed the difference, and it took about 5 or 6 weeks. I started on the powder, then I went on to the liquid, and in the meantime I got a grow kit off them and I grew my own, and I have pictures of my own mushrooms. And now I did hear from somebody that they were saying there was some kind of a bad press, but I think that is linked to people trying to dry their own. I had a conversation with my daughter about this, and she was saying friends of hers had bought kits and they tried to dry them, and they had, because you get a big crop, and I mean I just ate them, and I ate the crop before they went off, because the mushroom, obviously it's like a mushroom that you buy in a shop, you know. They only last for a week, maybe 2 weeks, so they tried to dry them, and they hadn't been in a sterile environment like they are from the farms, so bacteria had gotten into them, and then because they had autoimmune problems, they were eating contaminated mushrooms that they had dried out with bacteria in them. So I think maybe that's where the bad press comes from. Anyway, I'm not having any issues. I have serious autoimmune stuff going on. There's so many things I can't take, and I certainly not having any bacteria problems with these. So I think that's maybe where the bad press is coming from. Miraculous, as you can tell. I don't certainly not having any cognitive issues now. I'm clearing the decks of stuff I haven't been able to do for over 3 years, you know. So my hypothesis is, allowing that I had a lack of some antibodies and too many other antibodies, this stuff has cleared them. I mean, they are using it for people that have, they are using lion's mane for people who have Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It helps to repair pathways and stuff like that. Now, obviously, I'm not saying it works for everybody, that everybody with Alzheimer's and everybody with Parkinson's make miraculous recoveries, no matter what stage they're at. Obviously, I'm not saying that, but it has worked for me. And I was at the stage where I was afraid I was a goner, you know, that my brain was, you know, not going to make a recovery. And I was in a pretty bad way when I was having those crashes every single day, you know, and that neurologist, she was able to just take hold of my brain and push me in a matter of 5 minutes. She had me completely gone where I couldn't speak. She just went boom, 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 gone. I couldn't talk. It was dreadful. And I went from that in the space of a couple of months to being able to function like this and work these reports and clear my 3 years of backlog of all my pieces of paper are in order. And I wrote down every single thing, every bruise, every supplement that I had written down from pretty much the day I was jabbed. I wrote down everything, every vitamin C tablet, every bruise, everything. So that was pretty amazing. And I am putting it down to them. That didn't clear by itself. And I haven't taken any other medication than I was on when I was having the daily crashes. So I wanted to do a separate post for vaccine injured people that are having these awful cognitive impairment declines that, you know, aren't able for the whole other side of things that I was talking about, the whole vaccines thing and everything, that they can look at this in a different way. And this report as well, I'll be attaching this report to this video. High serum prevalence of autoreactive IgG antibodies against peripheral nerve structures in patients with neurological post-COVID-19 vaccination syndrome. That's PCVS. That's what they call as PCVS. So it's an interesting report. It's really the first 2 pages that give you the main information. So it's an interesting thing for people to look at. I mean, it's worth a shot. If I'm the guinea pig, that gives you information to say it has worked for me, then it's worth a shot. And I'd be going to a supplier that has, you know, I did the Holland bar off the shelf. I used to buy, I was taking Lion's Mane before I got the job. You know, for memory and stuff like that. I used to buy it from America before it was available in Ireland. And, you know, I didn't get that much out of it. Not that way. And I tried much bigger quantities of it when I was getting the real massive cognitive decline. I upped it and upped it and upped it, and I really didn't get what I needed from it. It was only when I went to a supplier that was growing it locally and getting it really fresh. And then, you know, I don't think I needed to grow my own, but I did it because I liked the idea of it. I don't think that's necessary. I will continue to do it because I'm just like that. You don't need to do that. But the fresh powder and the liquid, the fresh powder is probably enough, but I'm using the liquid because it's handy because I can bring it with me. I just stick a little bottle of it in my bag. If I have stuff going on, I'll take it a few times during the day. But I think that's the way to go, and it's worth a shot, and it's not expensive to do it that way. It is, you know, you're talking about 100 quid for probably, you could probably do that over a month. But initially I did quite a lot of it initially to get over the initial hump. And you could do less than that once you've cleared it. Because it was like, eventually I got bump, it was clear. And then you can lower it down to do maintenance. But yeah, it's working for me. It's worth a try. It's definitely working for me. So I hope other people get the same effect from it and reach out if you need any help. And I'll put links into, there's also, they're coming at the mushroom industry. You know who they are. They're coming at the mushroom industry. There was a thing called turkey tail that people were using for cancer, and they have messed about with that, and it's difficult to get. It might even be impossible to get. I'm not really sure of the detail on it. I did hear something about it, but you know, I'm not concentrating on that area. I'm kind of sticking to one area. I have loads of areas, so I can't really sidetrack off into cancer as well. I have too much going on. But I know they're starting to come at Lion's Mane now. The starting, what makes it look a bit, you know, like innocent, is that they're coming at it, the EU are coming at it to try and put it into a category of novel food. That'll be the first thing. They'll kind of, it looks real innocent. Oh, we'll just call that novel food. And then the next thing will be they'll ban novel food because they've decided that novel foods are, you know yourself. So there will be a petition going around very soon to say to leave it alone. So I'll be expecting people to sign that, please. When it's ready to go out, please sign that, because that's a really important lifeline for me, and there'll be many others like me, and if they get their hands on that, anyway, I don't even want to think about that. There will be a petition going around. So I wanted to try and keep this simple, and I'm probably up to 20 minutes or something now. So anyway, if people, hopefully you can find your own way after this. But if somebody needs help, you know, is having difficulty, you can always reach out, but try and make your own way with it. Don't contact me unless you're really stuck with something or cognitively you're struggling and you don't have anybody to help you. But try and make your own way with it, because sometimes people will contact me with something really basic that they just haven't Googled, you know, and that's really hard, because that stops me doing all the other things that I need to do. You know, I get people asking me really basic stuff. How do I find that company? And they have the name of it in the comments and the link, you know. So please try and make your own way if you can. And that doesn't mean don't contact me if you need help, but do your best to do it by yourself if you don't mind. And I hope anybody that is struggling cognitively, I hope you get the same result as I did. And thanks for watching. God bless.